Tunguska explosion. Natural disaster, oh, strange experiment. Imagine waking up to a morning where the very sky above you begins to burn. The air cracks with light, the ground shakes beneath your feet, and a sound like the heavens tearing apart echoes for miles. You stumble, shielding your eyes from a sudden white flash so bright, it looks like the sun has fallen from the sky. Then, in a single violent instant, everything around you is blown away. Trees snap like matchsticks, windows shatter hundreds of miles away, and a shockwave so powerful it circles the earth not once, but twice. This is not a scene from a science fiction movie. This is history. This is the Tunguska explosion of 1908. But what really happened that summer morning in the Siberian wilderness? Was it a simple natural disaster? Or could it have been something much stranger, a hidden experiment, a weapon gone wrong, or even a cosmic event beyond anything we can explain? For more than a century, scientists, explorers, and storytellers have tried to unlock the secrets of Tunguska. Yet to this day, the mystery refuses to give us all the answers. And tonight, we'll walk you through the story step by step. If you were there, living in a world where the impossible suddenly became real. So let's go back to the summer of 1908. It was June 30th, just after 7 a.m., when people in central Siberia began noticing strange lights in the sky. Some thought it was a comet. Others said it looked like a fiery ball racing across the heavens. Eyewitnesses described it as a column of fire tearing through the atmosphere. The glow was so intense that villagers hundreds of miles away stopped in their tracks to stare. Then, without warning, the sky exploded. A shockwave erupted with the power of over 15 million tons of TNT. To put that into perspective, that's about 1,000 times stronger than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima decades later. The blast flattened more than 80 million trees across nearly 800 square miles of forest. Entire herds of reindeer were killed in an instant. Hunters and nomads living in tens miles away were knocked unconscious by the force. The noise was so loud, people reported hearing it from 500 miles away. One man recalled that the heat felt as though his shirt had caught on fire. Another survivor said it was as if the end of the world had arrived in a single blinding flash. And yet, no crater was ever found. This is where the mystery begins. Normally, when a meteor or asteroid strikes Earth, it leaves behind a giant scar in the ground. But in Tunguska, the destruction was complete yet. There was no hole, no debris, no rock fragments, nothing solid at all. Instead, the forest looked as if it had been crushed by a massive invisible hand from above. So what could it have been? Scientists didn't even make it to the site until 1927, 19 years after the event. By then, the land had started to heal, but the scars were still clear. Trees lay in radial patterns, all pointing away from a single epicenter. The ground was scorched, but strangely, no mineral fragments were found. Instead, all that remained was a flattened wilderness, and questions that seemed to multiply the deeper researchers looked. Some said it had to be a meteor or a comet that exploded in the atmosphere before impact. That would explain the lack of a crater because the object never actually hit the ground. Instead, it disintegrated in midair, releasing all its energy at once, and this explanation makes sense. But if it was just a meteor, why couldn't they find any trace of it? Others proposed that it was a comet made almost entirely of ice. If it entered Earth's atmosphere, it would vaporize instantly, leaving behind nothing solid at all. Again, possible. But the energy released seemed far too powerful to match that theory alone. And so, stranger ideas began to emerge. Some people whispered that it wasn't natural at all that. It could have been the result of a secret experiment, one that went horribly wrong. At the time, brilliant inventors like Nikola Tesla were experimenting with wireless energy transmission, dreaming of ways to send power across continents without wires. Tesla even claimed he could harness massive bursts of energy from his Wardenclyffe Tower in New York. Could it be, some wondered, that one of Tesla's experiments projected across the globe and accidentally unleashed the destruction at Tunguska? It sounds wild, but remember, the early 1900s were a time of rapid technological leaps. Science was moving faster than ever before, and mysteries like Tunguska only fueled speculation about hidden projects and strange experiments. Others suggested military tests, an early attempt at some kind of explosive device, one lost to history, but there's no record, no evidence, nothing to support that theory beyond the sheer strangeness of the event itself. And then there are those who suggest something even more out of this world, a UFO. Some locals in Siberia at the time swore they saw a glowing craft in the sky before the explosion. Others said the object seemed to change direction, as if guided, before detonating. While mainstream scientists dismiss this idea, the UFO theory refuses to die. For many, Tunguska remains one of the most convincing cases of a mysterious object from beyond Earth, interacting with us in a very destructive way. But the mystery only deepens when we look at the global effects. 4 days after the explosion, the skies across Europe glowed strangely. In London, people reported being able to read newspapers at midnight without any artificial light. Photographs taken at night came out as if they had been exposed in daylight. This strange, luminous cloud effect stretched thousands of miles from the blast site. What kind of force could cause that? Even stranger, the shockwaves from Tunguska were recorded all around the planet. Instruments as far away as Britain and Washington, D.C., picked up vibrations that circled the Earth multiple times. It was as though the entire planet had been struck, yet the source remained invisible. Now, pause for a moment and imagine. You're a simple villager in 1908. You live miles away from the nearest town, your world filled with silence, forests, and the rhythms of nature. Then one morning, without warning, the sky itself seems to fall. You're thrown to the ground, your animals scatter, the forest erupts in flame, and the world never looks the same again. How would you even describe it? How could you explain it, when the very language you have doesn't hold words big enough to capture the terror? That's exactly how the eyewitnesses felt. To them, it was something supernatural, something beyond human understanding. And in many ways, it still is. So, what does science say today? Modern research leans heavily on the asteroid theory. Most agree that a stony asteroid or icy comet entered Earth's atmosphere at tremendous speed and exploded in the sky with the force of multiple nuclear bombs. That would explain the flattened trees, the lack of a crater, and the worldwide effects. But still there's no absolute proof, no fragments, no direct evidence, nothing to close the case for good. And that's why Tunguska continues to fascinate us. It sits on the edge of history and mystery, between the known and the unknown. More than 100 years later, people still travel to Tunguska, searching for answers. Expeditions have dug into the soil, tested the trees, measured the magnetism of the rocks, even used satellites to scan the land. Some claim to have found tiny spheres of silicate and metal, possibly fragments of the object. Others dismiss them as natural. The truth, it's still unsettled. And maybe that's why Tunguska has become one of the greatest unsolved stories of all time. It's a reminder that even in our modern age, there are moments when nature or perhaps something else can surprise us in ways we're not prepared for. So what do you think? Was the Tunguska explosion simply a comet that disintegrated in midair? Was it a secret experiment by scientists ahead of their time? Or could it have been something strange or an event so mysterious that even now we can't fully explain it? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoy exploring unsolved history, ancient mysteries, and unexplained events, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss the next journey into the unknown. Because sometimes, the questions are more powerful than the answers. And Tunguska is one mystery that still refuses to be solved.